first narrated by a reporter for the Richmond Dispatch, as it was called then, with a penchant for the morbid and the tragic. Among other duties, he writes reviews of the various entertainments available, and my reading picks up just before his first encounter with a man whose talents run deeper than mere stagecraft. I'll never know to whom I owe my introduction. A scrap of paper was left on my desk one day bearing, in nearly legible scrawl, a simple admonition: "You will not want to miss the show tonight," at the very bottom. I am not ashamed to admit I knew the place. As a single man with normal needs, I did occasionally dip my pen into some of Chaco's public women, but more often satisfied myself with a bawdy performance, which is exactly what, under normal circumstances, would have been offered that night at this particular establishment. And so it was with severely misguided expectations that I sauntered down to the corner of 12th and Arch, where the very bottom squatted unsteadily over the canal on its mossy brick haunches like a lady making water. Something about the scene immediately struck me as more perverted than usual. I had acquired a tincture of McMunn's opium elixir from my apothecary neighbor, as I found a few drops helped me enjoy the shows without the lingering discomfort of unspent lust. So initially I blamed the distorting effects of the narcotic, but the more I looked, the more I noticed that none of the normal gaiety attended the men, and it was all men, no couples, temporary or otherwise, who instead stood morosely in line awaiting entry, heads down or hidden behind hats pulled tight. A small placard had been posted by the entrance that read, in some, "Phyllis Ison, the Rememberist." I found my place in the queue and wondered aloud who had died, which earned me several gloomy stares from my peers. It was only then that I detected the source of my disquiet in the odd demographics of the men around me. Fully 1 in 4 lacked a limb. Most wanted an arm and had sleeves pinned to coats, which cleverly hid their deficiency, but I also noted at least 2 men on crutches with missing legs. The sight of men diminished by their service was no rarity by then, but never so many in one place. As if hearkened, a phantom pain rejoined from the 2 missing fingers of my right hand, and I crammed the hand even deeper than usual in my pocket to quiet it. Then the doors opened, we paid our fare, and we were led inside. Absent were the 2-bit pianist and the jaunty prelude that normally greeted me as I entered the dingy old theater. In their place was a tense and somber silence. Instead of lantern footlights, tall candlesticks lined the stage with a flickering glow. The sparse crowd took their seats, and in short order the show began. An old man in a surgeon's smock wheeled a gurney on stage that supported a younger gentleman with dark curly hair. A tarp had been laid down, and the old man positioned the gurney on top. From a shelf on the bottom, he retrieved a black leather satchel and laid it on the gurney. From inside the satchel, he withdrew a clamping tourniquet apparatus, a long, thin knife, and a bone saw with an ivory grip. He then wrapped the tourniquet around the upper right arm of the man on the gurney, inserted the end through the buckle, pulled it taut, and tightened the clamp with multiple twists. His preparations apparently complete, the old man stepped aside, and the man on the gurney addressed the audience. What you are about to see is a recreation of a field hospital amputation from March of last year during the first engagement at Kernstown. Private William Addison of the 5th Virginia Cavalry lost most of his right bicep muscle to a mini-ball. It was quickly decided the arm must be removed to save Private Addison's life. It was one of 3 such operations that day. Without further ado, the old man ambled back to the gurney, picked up the knife, and made several quick incisions. As he leaned over the patient, it was impossible to see exactly what was happening, but blood was soon trickling down the gurney and pooling on the tarp. My breath caught short in my throat, and I swiveled my head to gauge the reaction of my peers and help determine exactly what I was witnessing. But the few around me looked on with stone faces. The old man then stepped back and allowed us to see what he had done. A flap of the younger man's skin had been cut and peeled back to reveal the raw pink muscle beneath. The old man turned back to his charge and again made quick work with the knife. Another pause, and some daubing with gauze to show us the severed muscle and the white of the bone. And again the man on the gurney addressed us, his breathing a bit labored but otherwise under control. We require 2 volunteers from the audience.